praying from the third heaven realm, which is where you're to be seated. We are seated with Christ in the third heaven realm, right above the powers, principalities, authorities, and dominions.
Very scriptural.
Very scriptural. That's Ephesians 6, Ephesians 1, Ephesians 2.
Yeah.
All of that up here is where we're seated. And the enemy cannot afford us to pray from that location.
He's scared of us understanding
He's scared
who
of us
we are.
understanding that. And so he will do whatever he can to get you off that seat. And I talk about what happens is if he gets you all the way down here in the earthly realm, you're fighting people, right? And you're sick. You have situations going on where you feel the weight of the enemy's presence over you, the despair of what's going on in the world, the frustration. And when we pray from that, we usually pray from the seat of fear. And so one of the things you can get if you go on my website is you can sign up for the praying from power. And it talks about we pray from fear, selfish ambition, or love. And so when you're underneath the enemy, it's like, and you're a victim and you're hurting and you're like, and you pray from that place. You're releasing those seeds we talked about into, and we're sowing that in.
You have no clue you're doing it.
No.
It's not like you intentionally release it, but the enemy he's a liar and a thief. So he is manipulating to have you release his seeds into the field that God has given you to plant, basically, instead of what God gives you from the third heaven to plant. Yep. So he steals, kills, and destroys. Part of that is by planting bad seeds in your life.
And it grows.
Mm-hmm. And it grows.
It grows because it
and
produces
it
after its kind. It takes over.
And then the good things God put in your life cannot thrive and grow.
Right.
Yeah, so sometimes when we can't thrive and grow and we're frustrated with God, it's because there's all this stuff taking up space that needs to go.
That we need to burn up. Like last time we asked the Lord to burn up those things that are in our lives. So go back and watch that if this makes sense to you. But sometimes we don't go all the way under the enemy, but we come from here and we take the bait and we get frustrated and we step into what I call the boxing ring. And we actually start praying things like, you're going down and da-da-da. And it's like, ooh, your authority's not in the boxing ring. That's actually where the angelic and the demonic are doing battle. Where does that come from? Look at Daniel 10, when the angel is released and gets caught in this place with the king of Persia. So pay attention to those things and try and remain up here in the third heaven realm where you are seated with Christ. The moment you're saved, you are repositioned. And so we teach that you actually are bilocational, that you live here on earth, but you dwell here. Your spirit is here.
I like to describe it to people like because of what Jesus did and how he causes us to be seated in heavenly places, we have like an Ethernet cable. People know what Ethernet is. You have an Ethernet cable going from the natural realm, first heaven where we live and what we see, to the throne room of God, and we don't have to stop in second heaven.
Right.
And which is never fruitful for us. Because Jesus did all that. He has a strategy that's better than ours fighting on our own. He has a strategy to release what he wants. That's why he says, your kingdom come, your will be done on earth as it is in heaven, because that defeats the enemy.
Right.
It's a strategy.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It is. And it's important for us to stay seated there. I think the trick is probably not the right word, but it's the only word I can think of is to not take the bait.
Yeah.
To not come on down to his level or underneath him. And what does that look like? It's to keep yourself in the position of understanding, if I'm in third heaven, there's hope. If I'm in third heaven, there's always a declaration he can have me release. There's always the peace, right? And so if I can pray from those places, I know I'm seated with Christ in the heavenly realm.